Hello everyone, my name is Mike, and I'm going to introduce you to R and to RStudio, which we'll get to in a few minutes. First, just so you know, R is a statistical programming language. It's open source, which means it's free, which means that there are lots of people who actively work on it, making it better, developing new things that it can do, new capabilities. It's just, that's the nature of it. It also means that there's a huge community out there that is willing to help when you have issues or things you need to do that you don't understand how to do, they can help you with. And it's also a scripting language, which means that you write code. So here, I've opened up R. This is the console. You actually type in commands. This is a command. I'm assigning the value 1 to A, and it creates A. So it is a scripting language, which also means you can write functions, which is where the power lies. Because it's scripting, it actually is more powerful and much more flexible. And it's open source, meaning that people have developed 1,300 packages. That's hundreds and hundreds of things, packages, that help R do lots of different things. It can work in maps. It can create incredibly gorgeous graphics, which, by the way, the New York Times, Twitter, Facebook all use R. Google uses R. It is a phenomenal language. However, this is the standard way it looks when you download it, and it's really not that great. But first, let's talk about a little bit about how to get R. To get R, you go to cran.r-project.org. You click on whatever operating system you have. I have a Mac, so you can go there, and then you download the package here for a Mac. You download it, install it just like any other package. Or if you have a Windows machine, you go there, you get base. Well, notice it says here, this is what you want to do to install R for the first time. You can even click that and see what you want. There you go. So download it right there, and you will download it, install it, and it'll be on your computer. But I don't recommend, honestly, using the vanilla version of the GUI interface. It's just not that useful. It's cumbersome. You're moving windows. It's just difficult. So I'm going to introduce you to RStudio, which is what this is. You see here, this is my my RStudio. Now, RStudio, you can get at rstudio.com. Let's go ahead and go to rstudio.com. This is what it looks like when you first get there. And you go to download now, and you download it, the desktop. And it'll tell you when you click it, it'll recommend one for your system. It knows what kind of computer you have. And you download that and install it. Now, what RStudio is a development environment for R. It's a place that is built to make using R as effective and efficient as possible. And it really does that. RStudio is really very good. It has a console, which is this down here where the commands are run. It has a source editor, which is where you can type in commands and script and save it for later. It also has a workspace, which tells you the things that you've already created. So I've created the variable A, B, C, this ins thing. It has a history, so it keeps the commands that you have done and used, and you can actually reuse those. You can double click, and they will be entered into the console, and hit enter, and it'll actually execute. Or you can shift double click, and it'll go into the source editor, which is pretty awesome. And you can see where you entered that. So say you want to know what was the code before and after that when I entered that in, whenever that was. You can click on this little arrow, and it will take you there. In fact, it even tells you when, like the date and time. And you can go back. It also has a file browser. Now in the default version it's down here. I've moved it up here, and that's something you can do in the options. But it shows you where you are. which is important, and also lets you change the working directory. So if you navigate somewhere, so click on these ellipses, is one way to navigate, and you want to go, say, to the desktop. It happened to be that I was already at the desktop, but you can say go home, and let's say I want to go to my box documents. Okay, I can set that as a working directory, which means now R is going to be working from there. R assumes it needs a place to call home. We all need a home, and R's home is the working directory, and it assumes anything you enter in as a file name is going to draw from that folder or directory. And so now we've set this as the working directory. Okay, it also has packages, which are bundles of functions. So these functions, each function does something for you. You put in some inputs, it does some things to them and gives you outputs. And packages are bundles of functions. One such package is called tree, and it does classification and regression trees. This other one that shows up here is OpenStreetMap. It gives you access to maps and raster images, which means you can do some really cool map things. It also, RStudio also has plots. You see I've created a plot here, and you can see a plot history by going forward and backward. It also has a help. The help is built in. So let's say you want to learn about the function which.min. You hit it in this search bar and it comes up and it tells you what it does. Determines the location, i.e. index of the first minimum or maximum of a numeric vector. There you go. Pretty amazing. It also executes code. So if you are in the source editor, you can, I'm going to hold command because I am on a Mac, but if you are on a Windows machine, you hit control and you just hit command enter, control enter, and step through the code. And notice right here it skipped these blank lines. That's really useful when you're doing this a lot. Or you can just highlight sections of code. Say I want to do these. Or let's say I just want to do a subset. Let's just say I just want to see what that looks like. And I highlight it, control enter, and then I see down here those values. So very powerful in that way. It also has code completion. So let's say we want to look at some of the arguments in plot. So notice I started it and I hit tab. That's tab. Okay, oops. It brings up the options, and I can actually just go ahead and select one, say X, and I'm going to make it to be 1 through 10, and then I can hit comma, and in the next tab I can do it again and choose another thing, just like that, and then it plots. So pretty awesome. You can also complete file paths. So let's say I want to read in something. And so what I did was I said, look, if I want to read something in, a file path has to be a character string, so you put it in quotes, and it's literal, so everything in there is a literal. And I hit tab, and it goes and it shows me all the potential file paths in the directory I'm in, which is pretty neat. And if you, of course, if you were to start putting one in, it filters down to those. So all files that begin with B, all files that begin with BOX, and so on. Now we're not going to use that, but that's just to demonstrate. Also, you can just go hit up, and it'll go to previous things you entered, blocks of code that you've entered. Notice here it's got 2 lines because I selected 2 lines and it put it in there. So that's another fun feature that doesn't actually exist in our vanilla version to have blocks of code like that. So another reason to get RStudio. It also has code navigation. So if you hit Command F on a Mac or Control F, you can search things in your code say find all sections that have the word data in there. You can go next, previous, because that's the only thing in there. You can even replace, so if you're trying to use a file on over and over again for different things where you can tweak a little bit, that's a way to do it. You can also find files or functions, so it will find files for you up here in this option up here. So you can, if you've written a function, or if there's a function that you know is open here somewhere, you can find it by typing in the name of the function. I don't have any open here, but that's what that does. And it also, if I had more than one document open, I could go backward or forward in the documents that are opened here in these tabs. There would be tabs there. Also, you can create projects. This is a project I created called How to R. It just makes it easier, but I have other things that I'm working on as well. Right? So if I wanted to go to my paper project, I would click on that and go there. You can also create projects. You can create a project, and it'll bring up this option. You can do a new project in a new directory, use an existing directory, and version control. We won't talk about that, but that's pretty powerful as well. And projects are nice because what it does is it saves your workspace. So it saves everything that you've got open there, saves your workspace, saves your history. It even saves the pane layouts, the way that you've gotten these. You can adjust how this looks. So it even saves how you've made it look for yourself, which makes it easier in the future. You can also going back to the plots I didn't explain. You can export plots. You can save them as a raster, or you can save them as, in a vector format like PDF. You can copy it to clipboard. Other things. You can also go back and forth, like I said. So it has quite a bit of functionality. And finally, it has help built in. And I'm emphasizing that again, excuse me, simply because to learn R, you're going to need a lot of help. And so some other resources for getting help with R is this page called Stat Methods. It's quick R, and you can search functions. So what if you want to know more about which? Type it in. Excuse me. And it's not working for some reason. Okay. There we go. Okay, so I just looked up a function called LM, and I'm going to type the first one, and it talks about multiple linear regression. Or let's say you want to look up indexing. Okay, it's got some different things. So subsetting data. There we go. Here are ways you can subset data. It's very, very, very helpful. And it's written, it explains it nicely. He has a code commented, and he has code directly there. A really great way to get help. You can also use a basically filtered Google search that highlights things in R. Here in RSeek. So you want to learn about linear regression. Put it in there, and it loads. And here's a tutorial that somebody has created talking about how to do it. And this is actually another really great site, R Bloggers. If you get into R, there are people who actively develop new ways of doing things and show new capabilities of R, and you can find out about them there. Anyway, so that is RStudio in a nutshell. In R, we'll talk a little bit more about how to actually do certain things in another video, but there you go. That's RStudio. So thanks so much. Glad you're here listening to How to R. Please comment if you have any questions. If you have anything nice you want to say, just comment and subscribe and tell your friends so everyone can become brilliant R users. All right, thanks so much. Have a good one.